Survivor Specialist Phil and Will are back, and I don't actually know. Is that Will over there that I'm looking at? Looks oddly familiar, but I'm not sure. What do we got? We got a hat. We got a blue button down. It's not black, that's for sure. No black shirt.
Doesn't count as a black shirt. No,
it's certainly not black. But happy Halloween to everybody.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
Will's dressed as Jeff Probst here. For anybody who's only listening, you're really missing out on a good look. He's got the flowing hair and everything.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go. You're gonna pull it out a little bit.
Yeah. Some flowing.
Oh, there it was. Some
flowing JP hair. Yeah.
There you go.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. We made it.
Finally you joined us. I mean, where have you been? This guy is like just going to watch parties, not even taking care of his podcasting responsibilities. I mean, Blake and I almost had to do digging deeper. I mean, you barely made this one. So welcome to the podcast, man.
Blake with his mysterious illness. All of a sudden, the Dodgers win the World Series and the kid's sick. I mean, crazy how that works, you know?
That was insane.
Way of getting back at me.
We were podcasting last night while the game was on, and Blake was watching it while we were podcasting, and like the Yankees were up 5-0, and it was like, all right, Blake, like it's over, man. Like you'll get it in game 6.
Yeah.
Crazy game. I watched the end of it after we finished podcasting. I was not watching during because I was focused on my responsibility to host the podcast now that you were gone. You were gone partying.
Adult, Will. You understand the importance of a good podcast. That's why. It was funny, though. So last night I was at the Bryson Wen event in New Orleans, and it was 5-0 after the episode ended, and I sat down, and I started talking. We did a little live podcast, me, Bryce Wendell. We had Owen, Darnell, and Gabler were there. And so we did a little live podcast. I got done with the live podcast. It was 20 minutes, no joke, like 20 minutes. Get up. Every text in my phone is, I hate this team, worst defense of all time. What is happening? I can't believe this. And I was like, oh, well, maybe there's no way they gave up a 5-run lead. And then I looked, 5-run lead blown in one inning, no earned runs. I was like, my goodness gracious, what a World Series. I'm glad, you know, as a Yankees fan, it hurts. But at the same time, I'm glad that I don't have to waste a Friday night. I'm in New Orleans. I can go enjoy myself on a Friday night rather than watching them lose like 14-1 back in LA. And it does bring me a little bit of joy that the LA fans didn't get to celebrate it like in person. You know, that's the only real thing I got going for me at this point. So
I really don't like the Yankees that much, but I was rooting for them harder than I've ever rooted for a team ever. I hate the Dodgers. So
yeah.
Are we going to talk about Survivor?
Well, here's my question. How loud is the refrigerator that is right next to me? Can you hear that?
No, you have a microphone and it's.
I'm just making sure. This thing just clicked on and it is so loud. It feels like there's a truck next to me. But anyway, yeah, let's talk about Survivor. Let's dig deeper into Survivor 47, episode 7. Will and Blake did a full recap last night. I put up my after show for the $20 patrons. That one's already up. So if you're a patron, you already got some of my input into what I thought about last night's episode. But I figured, you know, I have Phil's thoughts here in the title because it's like I am giving my thoughts. And
yeah, we have to hear what you think. Yeah,
maybe be a little bit more recappy than usual. But I feel like the main focus of this should be the new twist and the fact that we split into 2 tribes of 6. And just if we like what really took place here, like, is this the future of Survivor? Is the future of Survivor this kind of 6-6 split? Only one tribe is going to tribal council and somebody is going to consistently be able to be saved by this type of advantage. Do you think that Survivor and production were happy with how this played out? And that was really like the big talking point last night at the watch party was like, it's like you feel like, oh great, Rachel got saved from being swap screwed. But then it just turned into Tiana getting screwed by a twist. So it's like a weird feel. But then part of me is like, was Tiana going to go home anyway? Like, was Rachel really the boot? I don't know.
I think she was. I don't know if this is like now the new format moving forward. So much of what the new era is keeping players on their toes, and you don't know what the game is going to throw at you. It moves quickly. It's surprising. It's unpredictable. All of those things that Jeff reiterates over and over again about the new era. So I don't think anything that we see once, and even if it works well and we love it, it's not like, hey, this is now a staple of the show, because Jeff doesn't want to have that many staples of the show. The only thing that we saw, like 41 and 42 is the same, but he even said, he was talking to the camera and all that, saying, look, the players haven't seen 41. So we're going to, these are all brand new surprises to them. And then once 43 43 came along, they got rid of so many things they had done in 41 and 42 because the players had seen it coming. They saw what was, they kept some things like beware advantages and journeys, but like a lot of the stuff they did was thrown out the window. So no, I don't think this is like some way moving forward. And I don't know. I was not too fond of this twist and the episode as a whole last night. I know some people really enjoyed it. Not that I like disliked it or that it was a bad episode. I just didn't feel that there was any suspense or surprise. Like every step of the way, you kind of knew what was going to happen. Once Saul gets that advantage, it's like, okay, he's obviously going to give it to Rachel. Rachel's obviously going to leave. And then if it's a 5 vote with the Tuku, obviously it's going to be Tiana going home. We've known she's been on the bottom of that tribe for a long time. So for me, it kind of was a boring boot, even though it was like we're infusing chaos was what it was trying to do. That's what that twist was trying to do. And I don't want to be a broken record. I recapped it last night, but I was saying this is like this is a manufactured life tribal is kind of the buzzword I probably said too many times.
Well, and I think what's fun about this episode and getting to watch this with a group, because I very rarely do that. I mean, I watch it with my wife and I jump on and I podcast, and it's funny to hear you say that, Will, because I will say that inside of that venue last night, Wendell did a little Instagram video that he threw up on his social there. It was about 50-50 on people thinking it was going to be Tiana or Gabe. Like there were still a lot of people who felt like Gabe was going to get the votes. Yeah. And I think what it was that you had Caroline, Kyle, and Tiana who could possibly put the vote on Gabe. Like Sue was a non-factor in last night's episode. But what I think threw off regular audiences is the fact that Tiana's name did not come up at all before they actually got the tribal council. Now it didn't have to. And I actually think that was a good move by the editors to create as much drama out of.
That's a good point.
Yeah, out of something that was pretty predictable. But I felt like it was Tiana the whole time. And I was standing there next to Owen and he said Tiana and Gabler was saying Tiana. But like most of the people in that room were still feeling like it's going to be Gabe. It's going to be Gabe. Nobody really bought that it was going to be Caroline. I will say that.
Well, no, because of course they didn't, because Gabe gave us the confessional that he was feeding Rachel a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
Like, so there was no reason to ever think it was Caroline because Gabe explicitly told us that he was lying. And there was no reason to ever think that it was Gabe because Caroline tells Tiana, I agree with you about going back 5-0, but if we go back 5-0, guess who's the targets? It's not us. It will be Kyle and it will be Gabe. And that's good for us. And so Caroline explicitly said why she doesn't want to vote Gabe out. So at that point, and honestly, this whole Tuku tribe, all we've seen the whole season has been it's Sue, Caroline, and Gabe. And they're at 3.
100%.
So like where was this not going to be Tiana? Kyle has immunity. So it's like, if Kyle didn't have immunity, it could have been more suspenseful. And like, okay, are they going to go with Tiana or are they going to go with Kyle? But that trio was not splitting up.
Well, and that's something that's funny to me because you can say, okay, I'm not a huge fan of the episode overall, and I think that's fair. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
I enjoy. I'm just saying the way the twists worked out. I think it feels like a big surprising twisty moment, but in reality, it was like the most predictable boot of the season.
Yeah, no, and that's what's interesting. So, but I just want to point this out for the editors because I think that what's funny about a show like Survivor is if you edit it in a obscure way, you can often blindside the audience, but then the audience can feel dissatisfied with the ending of the episode because they say, well, I didn't see that coming and I don't understand why this vote went this way, this way, this way. Then you get a season like this where I've been commending the editors this entire season. I think they're doing a phenomenal job. I think they've killed it episode after episode after episode, and they're telling the story. They have figured out how to make 90 minutes work for them. But what's funny is they've told the story so well that if you were really following the story for the first 6 episodes, it was obvious that it was going to be Tiana as soon as Kyle won immunity, because the entire season has been about, from Tuku's perspective, there are 3 tight people, and then Tiana and Kyle are on the outside, and Tiana might have voted with them, but Tiana was shown causing drama, and they could have easily left that all on the cutting room floor if it wasn't going to come back to haunt her. Her edit makes so much sense.
There's a reason they included Tiana bad-mouthing Gabe at the social hour or whatever. I mean, that was an explicit reason to get we heard from Sue, and maybe that's why we didn't hear from Sue last night. We talked about this briefly, Blake and me, that maybe Sue's confessionals were just too on the nose. Like, we're getting rid of Tiana. Like, if Rachel weren't here, we're getting rid of Tiana or whatever it was. Or maybe she was exposed, hey, we're getting rid of Rachel, and that was it. And she just didn't have any, I don't know, nuance to her plans. But we've known for a while that Sue is not a fan of Tiana.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Tiana, she's wanted to get rid of Tiana the whole time. And Tiana throwing Gabe's name out a couple episodes ago pretty much told you everything you needed to know about how the Tuku alliances were going to shake up. Because the other thing that we never saw after all of this was Tiana ever get in with anybody. When Sue has the red paint incident, Caroline's talking about, oh, good, Sue, like, I'll keep your secret. I'll keep your secret. She's never going to Tiana and saying, hey, by the way, this would happen. Tiana thinks she's figuring it out. And Tiana is figuring it out. And I will say last night, Tiana was 100% right, I feel like, about the whole 5-0 vote thing. And, you already said, yeah, but it's going to be Kyle and it's going to be Gabe who get targeted. But I think she was still
Those
right.
are Caroline's words, not my words.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Caroline was right about that. But I think that Tiana was 100% right in her reasoning for why we shouldn't go back with all 5 of us. I think that her explanation was right. But sometimes in Survivor, you could be right and you still go home. It doesn't matter. And I think that Tiana never got an ally. And I think her closest ally in the game was sent home on day 4 or day 5,
TK,
whatever episode TK went home.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do think, I do wonder if they'll bring this back. I am feeling like we are going to see this twist again in season 48. I feel like that we're going to get a full cycle on the final 13. They will do a very similar thing to what we saw last time.
I can see that happening. Yeah.
And then final 12 will do this kind of split. I appreciated, and I talked about this a lot on my after show. I really like that we didn't do a double boot here. And I talked about this in depth when Caleb got voted out and Sifu, because the problem is when they do the final 13 vote, the final 12 happens the next day. Like, they go to tribal council the next day. And I hate that after that huge mergatory, whatever, big, massive tribal council, that the people don't get a chance to get their footing back under them. Mm-hmm. So, and then it just comes down to a random rock draw on, oh no, there's the split. This is what happens. I like the idea that they only had one tribe go to tribal council. I still think it's stupid to split here just because of everything I just said. Doing it the day after is problematic. But if they were going to do it, I do feel like, again, this was a big step in the right direction, even if the twist didn't play out all that excitingly, because really the split could not have worked out worse for production.
I think it could have worked out probably in worse ways. And this was still, I mean, at least it's interesting that one tribe is all together. At least there's like, wow, how'd that happen? Yeah. There's that part. And I said this last night. Basically, Tuku lost an immunity challenge. It's a pre-merge. Think of this as the pre-merge.
Yeah.
Tuku lost an immunity challenge. Rachel's there to help him out, but she's gone. So it's just Tuku. And who would you vote out if you lost an immunity challenge pre-merge? It would have been Tiana. And see, so like, yeah, she got screwed, but did she? Like, if they had lost at one of those challenges, then she's gone anyway. So yeah, I don't know. I don't feel, I mean, and I again, I feel like a broken record. Like, the mechanism in which you went home, it kind of sucks. Like, to just get like that gut punch because you had Rachel as a layup, and then you were even she was trying to put the vote on to Gabe. Like, she was trying to play, and then it sucks that happened. But she was at the bottom of that tribe, and that's on her.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, and I also, like I said, Rachel felt like a layup, but I also feel like the editors told that story in the way of Rachel was saved by Saul. If that advantage is not in the game, Rachel still might not go home, and we would have seen a totally different show.
Right.
And I'm not convinced that she was 100% going home and that it wasn't just, hey, look how this goes. I'm
pretty convinced. Here's why I'm convinced, Phil. What would have been the alternative plan if Rachel doesn't go?
I think it was Tiana still.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And I think there were conversations about getting rid of Tiana that they totally left out of the episode to make more dramatic at the tribal council. Because I don't know if you heard this or not today, it came out that Tiana got the advantage 20 minutes before tribal and Rachel got the advantage 20 minutes before tribal and told Tiana about it. So Tiana knew the advantage was there. And I honestly think that there were probably conversations even before that. Like, they left a lot on the cutting room floor last night to create drama. And I would not be surprised if when Tiana's talking about, oh, maybe we should get rid of Gabe or maybe we should get rid of this, if that's not all of a sudden Caroline, Gabe, and Sue having a conversation saying, we got to get rid of Tiana.
Did we only hear from Caroline when she was talking to Tiana, or did she give us a confessional? And I think that would be my big question with that, because Caroline was so adamant that, like, Rachel is this mastermind threat, triple threat of a
Mhm.
Survivor player, super charming, super warm, strategic, smart, physical, like just going on and on about how much she loves Rachel, and that if it wasn't Rachel, that she would turn on the Tuku 5. But because Rachel was there, she really needed to get Rachel out, and like explained it very well. That was point number 2 of her 2-point thing, where it's like, well, if we're 5, they're going to get the guys, and we have to get Rachel. She's like such a big threat. If it's some random person who I didn't care about, sure, we can vote out Gabe. But did she tell that to us, or was she just telling that to Tiana? Because maybe that is a nice trick.
I think she was. I actually do think she was telling that to us.
Do you think
I
there
think
was
that was
like
a confessional?
it
I'm
was a
pretty sure that was
confessional?
confessional. Yeah.
Then that makes me think it wasn't Tiana. Because
True.
if she's telling us, why is she going on and on? And of course, there are editing tricks that they can do, where it's like the question is, give me reasons why you want to vote out Rachel, and then that's the confessional we get to mislead us.
Because then they could also ask the same thing about Tiana, and she could give the same thing, but they don't want to.
Yeah,
they don't want to reveal it.
Yeah. That will be interesting to hear if that was initially the plan. I don't suspect it was. Just Caroline sounded pretty sincere, and I feel like too, if maybe not, maybe you're right, it would give it away. I'm just thinking like if Caroline was playing Tiana that hard and that well, like the show would want us to know that, like because we enjoy, deception and devious gameplay. I think like that, like someone who's really good at lying, because that would be a very good lie from Caroline. It just did not feel like she was lying.
I also feel like, though, something to take into consideration is last week's episode. They don't want 2 obvious boots back to back. So they had to do everything in their power this week to make this seem not obvious. True. And that could end up hurting Caroline, who like maybe they would have shown that in a normal week, but coming off of the roast of Rome, you kind of have to keep the wool over our eyes. Otherwise, people are sitting there going, I knew Rome was going home 20 minutes into the episode, and the next week I knew with 30 minutes left that Tiana was going home. I do think that might have impacted the way they edited this.
Yeah, that's true. But as someone who's watching closely,
yeah,
like it was very obvious still that Tiana was going home.
I agree. Zach asked this question: does it mean that they're going to split at Final 10 though for double?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know you like this, Phil, and that we're not splitting up, but it's kind of kicking the stone down the road. Like we got to get rid of 2 people in one episode at some point, right?
Well, here's
unless we start the finale with 6, that would be the only other way to do it.
Well, here's what's interesting. So we just did episode 7, and it is October 31st or October 30th. So for the remainder of the season, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 7 episodes left of Survivor. So we're actually getting 14 episodes this season, not 13.
There's an extra episode.
There is an extra episode because Bryce and Wendell are doing their finale party on December 18th, and they originally had it scheduled for the 11th and then moved it. So there is an extra episode this season.
Okay, well, and they know the episode order before they shoot the show. So I mean, if they knew that, then it's like we don't need to do this double thing. Still, like, why can't they just compete for immunity and all go to tribal?
I couldn't agree more.
Is there anything wrong with that?
Because, well, just getting back to the calendar perspective, we have 6 more episodes before December 18th. So that'll get us down to 5. And then December 18th, which is the finale, will be 5. But I agree 100% with you. Why can't we just compete for immunity? And next week, do we think that we're finally going to get a normal tribal? I'm assuming we will, because now we've officially hit the jury portion of the game. But there need to be more normal votes in Survivor. Like I keep saying it about this season. I feel like they're moving in the right direction. Like even last night's twist, that twist was put into effect to protect the person who could potentially get the most screwed in this situation because of pretty much what happened to Caleb, I think, in 45. So now they turn it around and they do it this way for season 47 because now they've had a whole year to think about it. And they figured something out. I felt like it was a step in the right direction. But if you want to make the leap in the right direction, just have 12 people go to tribal council with one person.
It's not even a leap. It's just like stay put. Like stay put. Do what works. I just watched it back. That segment of I wasn't listening to you really. Of Caroline.
I wasn't listening to me either. That was perfect.
And Caroline is talking. She's got a pretty meaty confessional saying, voting out Rachel unravels the Gada tribe and will open things up for us and open up things for me and Tiana specifically is what she says. So So saying that, like, she basically saying she wants to move forward in the game with Tiana in her confessional, like not to Tiana's face. So I take that as face value.
That's pretty good too. And you think about the way that this goes at the live tribal. Rachel leaves. Gabe and Sue aren't going to vote for each other, and Kyle's immune. If Caroline starts pushing for somebody else other than Tiana, they're going to look at her and say, okay, you're going home now. She has no teeth in that situation at that tribal council. She has to just take it. And I could potentially see her not wanting to vote out Tiana. Now, granted, maybe Kyle would have said, hey, I'll work with you, Caroline. Let's vote out Sue or Gabe. But I do feel like Caroline probably has a better relationship with both Gabe and Sue than she does with Kyle. I don't feel like anybody has a relationship with Kyle at all. So why would she want to piss off Sue and potentially vote out Gabe?
Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Because they're coming out of this tribal council, this Tuku 4, they're tight. I mean,
well, here we go with Jordan with a great comment. And I actually was hoping to discuss this last night, but Blake and I were just blabbling on back and forth. Jordan Stomez or Stoms, we need more normal votes because there's still no clear-cut alliances. And it's very well said because we merged last week and essentially Rome vote is just a unanimous, like there's no alliances there. Everyone's voting Rome. Everyone's in on the plan. And that's why I thought it was funny when Saul gets back. This is kind of a tangent where like Saul gets back and Andy's like, mad at Saul, and I get it. You wrote his name down. They needed to talk, but even I think we heard from Teeny saying, "Yeah, Saul's going to do some damage control." It's like, wait, you guys are coming back as if like you all 12 of you should be in one alliance, like happily ever after. Like, come on, this is Survivor, but it's a pretty unique scenario where it's like, no, it was a 12-1 plan at that vote. So I guess they're all in one alliance, and then we split up. And Rachel leaves, so it's just a full tribe that's been together since day one. So there hasn't been a vote yet. Now, out of these two votes, since they've merged or come together, I know the merge comes after, that they've actually put together a plan and like actually gone at each other. They're still playing the game within their own kind of communities, I guess.
Yeah, and I've enjoyed season 47 a lot, but I feel like the season begins next week. And I think that is, is Survivor almost like, are they making a mistake with these 2 episodes back to back every season? 13 and 12 are always weird. And a lot of times they go from 12 right down to 10, but 13 and 12 are always kind of like a little out there, right? Like, because they're making half the tribe save and they split into 2 and they do all that. Are they actually making a mistake by doing that? Because they're actually slowing the game down when they mean to be speeding it up. Because right now as an audience, we watched Rome get voted out unanimously, essentially. And then we turned around and we watched Tuku go to a tribal council as if it was pre-merge. Like that to me feels like they went backwards for 2 weeks.
It felt like
forward.
That's what we talked about. Like it felt like we reverted to the pre-merge last night.
Yeah.
And that felt to me like the Survivor gods righting wrongs of random twists, where we're gonna spin this wheel and determine the name. I mean, they literally did a schoolyard pick for the merge, which was like 1 challenge and 1 reward. And it had no implications on the vote because everyone was going to be vulnerable except the one person who won immunity. This would have been the perfect time to do a schoolyard pick because then you have dilemmas, you have decisions. But no, let's just randomize it. That's it. The Rock. I mean, Jeff then he looks at the camera after during his casting promo and it's like Survivor, all about the random draw of the Rock. It's like, is that what Survivor really is about? Like that's what Jeff's takeaway is. I don't know. It's like. The Rock draw, man. Like, why?
There was a great. The Rock draw was great this week for us. We did. What did we do? We did So Close for So Far. That was our Rock draw.
Oh, well, that was our. The Survivor Rock Draw Patreon podcast is a phenomenal podcast. That might be the best
phenomenal podcast. That was so fun.
We come up with some amazing casts and answer like 10 to 15-minute questions. It's
What Will and I are essentially doing is we are making the Rock Draw fun again because the Rock Draw is not fun on regular Survivor. So we go and we make the Rock Draw fun in a unique way over here on the Patreon. So check that out, patreon.com/specialist. But I did see somebody had posted, and I always look at these things and I'm just scrolling, and I pretty much on the Specialist Twitter, all I follow are Survivor people and Survivor things. So I never know who to give credit to because I always forget and I should write it down or screenshot it or something. But somebody had said Jeff is so excited about the random Rock Draw because it's like, oh, that's random. It's crazy. You can't predict. You can't plan for it. And their response was, well, wouldn't it be fun to watch people put the game into their own hands and try to make things strategically work and then be thwarted and have to figure out how they can solve that? Because imagine if Tuku had purposefully picked this tribe. Let's say Sue goes first and Sue says, I'm picking Gabe. I'm picking Kyle. I'm picking Caroline. And then they let her get Tiana also. And then it's like, well, Rachel's left over. Now Rachel's stuck. Tuku's sitting there like, ha, 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 look at us. We did it. And then this twist comes out and it screws Tuku. You kind of smile a little bit because you say, well, you shouldn't have picked all the Tukus to go and be together. That was stupid of you. And that's what's missing from the game right now. Because what was the last decision that a player truly made on this show? Saul made the decision last night, but like you already said, it really wasn't a decision.
Like not a decision. It's not a decision. I mean, I know it is a decision, but it's not a damn decision.
Yeah. Jordan says again, but players play against the twists and less against each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. It's been a problem for a while now, but like like imagine a schoolyard pick. It's like, can you just like, what do? Do you just want to pick someone who you think's gonna be the best at balancing and like win the challenge and then don't even worry about it? Or are you like, well, I need some allies here, even though that person is not good at balancing. It's my number one ally. We'll have 2 votes.
Yeah.
It's a dilemma. It's interesting. You can strategically make decisions. I don't know. I feel like,
and I feel like, did we see this in Island of the Idols or was that not that one? I guess was random too. When Tommy went up against he was outnumbered 4-1 and survived the vote without anything. I forget if that was random or not. But I think the funny thing with this is like, imagine if you get the first vote or the first pick and you're Teeny or Rachel or something. You don't really have a relationship with Kyle, but you're going to pick Kyle because he's the best at this shit.
Right.
So of course you're going to pick Kyle. So you pick Kyle and then you turn around and you say, okay, maybe I'll pick Sam. And then maybe I'll pick, other burly man. Who cares? But you're trying to pick that. And then also though, by taking those people onto your tribe, you are saying, well, I have control. If we do lose, I'm the one who can determine whether or not this person goes home. So I do think that you can actually get into their minds rather than spending 30 minutes of trouble. Because that was the thing that people were talking about a lot last night was we have
that tribal dude.
We have a 30-minute tribal. And I said, okay, well, we're going to get 15 minutes of tribal. Then we're going to get the twist being revealed. Then we're going to go to commercial. And then we're going to do the last 15. And sure enough, that's exactly how that went.
And it was like, why did they talk in circles? Did you feel that way? Did you get kind of a groan from the audience during tribal? Like I don't know if I've ever watched a tribal that felt like Jeff asked the same question 10 times in a row more than that tribal.
I will say this. I think because people were kind of having discussions about who do you think it was going to be. And I think we all kind of saw that the twist was going to be played for Rachel. People weren't, I don't feel like people were paying attention to the first 15 minutes of that tribal all that much, to be honest with you.
Which is like even more of a reason not to hammer. If you're going to upend the entire conversation, the entire strategy, the entire vote, why spend 15 minutes talking about something that is, eventually just going to become totally moot?
Yeah.
Jeff knows that, and the editors know. Like, why was it so long?
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't repetitive, it didn't need to be that long. But the fact it was repetitive and long and meant nothing, oh boy, we could have spent that 15 minutes on everyone having confessional on why they picked who they did for the schoolyard pick.
Yeah. And I mean, I appreciated the reactions from the jury, Saul playing it. What is that? Blah, blah, blah. But you could have done that after 3 minutes of tribal council. You could have had 3 minutes of tribal council of them being like, hey, this is going to be really obvious. Yeah, we're going to vote Rachel. They could have edited it that way. We didn't have to hear everything else. And then Rachel says, well, actually, I'm leaving. And then they just do and then they just do the rest of the episode the way they were going to. But yeah, we get more time with other stuff. I feel like Jeff, especially because he loves these, the tribals and the live tribals and whatever. Jeff sometimes I think puts the emphasis on the wrong things. And a 30-minute tribal in 2024, nobody's asking for it. Literally nobody cares at this point. We'd rather spend an extra 15 minutes on the island.
Tribals are tribals have not been excited. Everyone knows how to play tribals. So, Malcolm said it in 34, I believe. Tribal council's theater. Maybe was that Adam? Basically, you're trying to answer Jeff's question the best way you can without showing your cards. Like you're not being truthful. You're not being honest. And sometimes it leads to great moments, and sometimes people get mad at each other and call each other out, and we get drama, sure. But just the 5-1 thing, my God, they beat that horse dead, man. That's a bloody dead horse.
Now, let me ask you this question.
I'm telling you, man, I might rewatch it again and just make sure I'm not like on like a crazy planet on my own in my own world of like maybe I hit like the back button accidentally and I wasn't paying attention and it just repeated over and over. And I'm the only one thinking this way. I cannot believe it's not. It is a topic of conversation on like I don't go on social media really, but boy oh boy, Bill.
Dude, and it's funny you're saying that because everybody really enjoyed the episode from where I was last night. Like everybody was really into it. It was like it felt like there was a lot of momentum there, but everybody was pretty much reacting to Saul making this move and making this decision. A lot of people were rooting for Rachel. They were bummed for Tiana. But again, I feel like through the first half of that tribal, most people were talking about who you think is going to be. That was when Wendell was doing his Instagram that, like it was like nobody was watching it twice in the same way that you probably did. Because I think everybody knew once we saw the clock, we all said, okay, we got 15 minutes before Rachel plays her thing. Then we can focus on who it's going to be. Do you think how do you think this is going to spin? And most people were just like, wow, they haven't said Tiana's name, so it won't be her. But let's spin off of this for a sec here. And I want to ask you this question. I want to know, I don't know if you and Blake talked about it last night. Do you think Saul revealed to anybody else on the island that he got this advantage?
It didn't seem that way from their reactions. Didn't seem that way. And I think he will. And I also think there we go. Juliana Figueredo. You're not wrong, Will. My group chat was losing it. It was so long. We get it. It's 5-1. Yeah, I mean that's it. What were you asking me, Phil?
I was asking, do you think Saul shared with anybody?
I don't think he did, and I almost think maybe when he got pulled to interview that he was told like keep this a secret so it lands. Like it's a big shocker. And I think him telling people after is totally fine. Like this is.
Do you think he's going to tell people right away, or do you think he's going to like tell everybody in the group, or do you think he's going to tell specific people? How do you think it's going to go?
I think he'll own up to it when they get back to camp. That's kind of because someone did play it. Mm-hmm. It's like it happened, and it's only one of 6 of you. So like tough. Like why lie about that? Mm-hmm. What does that do for you? You helped Rachel out, who got a shit luck draw. Yeah. No one's gonna think this will not hurt your game if you reveal that you did it. I mean, maybe Saul's like, I don't want to let them know that I have an eye for finding advantages. Maybe that's an angle where he wants to keep it hush. But I think I'd rather own up to it than having heat, because people will talk. And like if Teeny and Genevieve get together with Andy. And Andy gets together with his God of people, and they're like, no, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. And it's like, well, it was somebody. Yeah. Kind of like when Jem found the idol last season. I mean, I think they kind of figured it had to be Jem because they had just talked it out of us. Like, it really wasn't me. So if there's that lingering mystery of like who has it, kind of like Sue's idol, like someone found something here. We don't know who, but at least that's one of 13 people at that point. And now it's, I guess they probably figured that would be on the blue tribe, so maybe only that is 1 of 5. But I would tell if I were Saul.
I would tell, and I feel like you have to tell Rachel because you need to build the alliance with them. And then I think also if you go to Andy and Sam and Sierra and you say this, that would probably get you in good favor with them, and especially with Andy, who is feeling a little hurt by you and whatever. And then I mean, Andy did say, I want to get rid of my God of people, but if Saul says to him, look, we got to keep this going here because then we have you, me, Teeny, Genevieve, and then we get rid of your God of people at 7. That makes a lot of sense. I think that's a good game plan. So I feel like there's nothing for him to lose here except for with the Tuku people. But I don't feel like the Tukus have made any inroads with Gata or with Lavo. So what difference does it really make? How's it going to hurt them?
Mm-hmm. Where do you think the alliances actually are, though? Because I know we had Jordan's great comment, and it's so true. We really don't know where this season's going. I mean, it could fall into this Tuku versus non-Tuku, but now that Tiana's gone, there's only 4 of them. We know that Andy is not super thrilled with Sam and Sierra. pegging him as the backup plan. So it almost feels like that story takes more precedent over this Tuku thing, because the Tuku 5 never came to fruition. They didn't make it out of the tribal. So I think it's more Andy and Genevieve putting together numbers. We saw Saul is in the mix, and we see in the preview for next week that Caroline is in the mix, and that's a Tuku number. We also have the Women's Alliance boiling. So where do you see this going, Phil?
I feel like, and again, I'll get to the answer of the actual question, but I feel like we are going towards a final 5 that is going to be some mix of these 6 people. Teeny, Genevieve, Saul, Andy, Sam, and Caroline. Those are the 6 people I see getting the final. Maybe Sue sneaks in. Maybe there's another rando, but those are the 6. I think we will get a final 5 that involves at least 4 of those 6 people, because the way I'm seeing this kind of shake out right now is I think Lavo will stick together out of necessity, even though none of them are number ones with each other. We even heard Genevieve say last night that she lost her number 1, but what am I going to do?
Was her number 1.
Rome was her number 1, in fact, even though none
and
of us
also
really thought that was
smooth
true.
by Genevieve. I love that from Genevieve, being like, what was I going to do?
Yeah.
You know, it's 11 people wanted him gone, and she did not make any attempt or fuss to be like, no, that's my guy. She just let it happen. I love Genevieve and Caroline like so much. Like the way they're playing, this is like how modern New Era Survivors should be played. Yet I don't think they're actually going to win.
I don't think they're going to win, but I agree with you. I think that's why I see them going deep. And I feel like what we're probably going to see is Red plus Andy plus Sam plus Sierra. Like, I feel like that 6 is going to be something. And I feel like Caroline has the best chance out of the Tukus to get in with those people and potentially put herself in a swing position. And I feel like Rachel could still go deep in this game too, but I don't know what her winner prospects are at this point. But like, I feel like we are going to get, I think Kyle, I think Gabe, they're in trouble. And we know that there's an alliance between Gabe, Sue, and Caroline, but like, Kyle keeps winning immunities and Gabe's pretty good at challenges. Why would you let them hang around? I feel like people are going to want to boot those 2 and then start playing the game. And I feel like that's just going to leave us with the Lavos and the Gatas, and Caroline has a better chance of fitting in with them. So this is one of my favorite things, and I got to bring this up. We only have like 10 more minutes that we can do here because I'm in somebody else's apartment and they're about to come home. I love, Will, how with seasons that are spoiled, Edgic is so spot on. With seasons that aren't spoiled, it's amazing that Edgic isn't that good at what they do. And so coming into this week, they were saying that Sue had the best chance to win, like by far. I wasn't seeing it at all. I don't see Sue's winner edit anywhere. And then this week at the most important tribal council she's been to, she gets 0 confessionals in the episode.
And she's the only one with an idol, and she's one of only 4 players that can get eliminated, and we don't hear from her
at all. And so I just wanted to bring that up because people think Sue can go deep. Sue might go deep, but Sue's not going to win. And I don't feel like Sue fits into any of the game players who are going to go deep in this game into their storylines. To me, almost feels a little bit like Emily Flippin, where eventually they're going to say, okay, we can use Sue. Sue's got some mind. Sue's going to play her idol at some point. And they're going to say, all right, let's just get rid of Sue. Sue's not doing anything for us, because Emily was very useful to people until Emily started to make moves. And then they said, okay, we got to make sure we don't let Emily get to the end. I don't think anybody's worried about Sue winning, but I'm just more saying like Sue, I don't see winning at all. And I don't think the people on the island see her winning. So I just thought it was funny that coming into this week, she was far and away the favorite from Edgic. And yeah, I mean, you'll always know when Survivor's spoiled because Edgic will pretty much be right in those seasons. Anyway, I just think that with what you're asking of the alliance base, like where's that going to go? I truly believe that it's probably going to be 6 of the final 7 are going to be from Lavo and Gata, and there's going to be 1 person.
My only push against that is I think you're right with Kyle and Gabe not being in a good spot. I think they're the Tuku, who's kind of been labeled as like this kind of really tight majority, even though they're not a majority, and they're actually not that tight. But because they have 5 people at the merge, they have this label. They're also, good at challenges, those 2, Gabe and Kyle. And they're men, and we have a women's alliance kind of faction coming together. So I agree with you there. But I also think that Andy is not just going to go and play this game with Sam and Sierra now that he knows what Saul told him. and that he was so evident. They made such a point of this last night that he knows he's the third wheel and that he has to cut them. And so I think Sierra and Sam are one of two things are going to happen. Either Sierra and Sam get booted, or at least one of them get booted by Andy, and he makes that move on them, or he attempts to and fails in doing so, and that gets himself booted. I don't see all three of those players making final 6 or final 7. I think that's
I left Sierra out of my final 6.
Oh, okay.
I did. I had left Sierra out.
Sam, though. I think Andy's got a bullseye right on Sam's head.
I will say last night,
and Andy, you didn't hear our recap, Phil. You'll have to go listen to it at some point. It was enthralling. It was fantastic. Andy's like front runner for me to win.
Oh no, see, I think he had a bad edit last night. I really do. I think his edit tanked last night. He was shown so wrong last night, dude. He was shown good at the beginning, and then as soon as they won the challenge and he was looking for the clue, nobody notices, so I'm going to start looking. And everybody literally caught him red-handed.
Sierra caught him and called him out. I think that was proving that Sierra is not on your side here, Andy.
I'm just saying. I feel like they didn't show that in a way.
No, that's a great scene to include, because they're like, I think he's got the best winning chances, and it's not so much that like he has an obvious winner's edit or an obvious winner's story. I'm not sitting here. It's so you can't see all the clues. You can't read the edit, you idiot. It's that I don't see anyone else jumping out. Like, I don't see anyone else sticking out to me as like a potential winner. There's like other than Teeny, I really don't see who it could be. With Genevieve and Caroline, they just have no personal content. It sucks because they're both playing great games. I just don't know them as humans. I've known like their gameplay decisions, and Genevieve has had some funny moments in confessionals, and Caroline seems to be playing an amazing social game that I can see. But I don't know who those people are. What are they playing for? What are their vulnerabilities or insecurities? I don't know about their past. Like, I don't know what makes them tick. I don't know them as humans. I know them as Survivor players. And your winner, you usually know as a human. I know Andy as a human being.
I just feel like Andy is he's your journey storyline. I feel like he's the one who's gonna, he overcame what he needed to overcome, and he's ultimately going to lose. That's just how I feel.
It's probably more likely that you're right, but I would still put Andy at a greater chance than, what are we at? 1-0, so we got like 9%. Each player's mathematically got 9%. Yeah. I would put him over 9% to win, and I think he's one of the few people that can actually win.
Yeah, if I'm looking at this, and this will be the last thing here because we got to wrap this here, but I would say my top 3 at this moment of who could win this season, I would say I'd probably go Teeny. I'm
chalk pick.
I'm surprising myself though here. I think Saul could win.
Saul could win. Still, we don't know him all that well.
And then I actually think I'd go Rachel over Caroline. I think Rachel might be top 3 right now.
Rachel could be. We see Gabe here. Is Gabe a winner from? I think Gabe is someone.
I don't think Gabe pulls it off.
I feel like I know him, and we got a lot of him pre-merge. And he has those like winning confessionals. He's intellectually, he's playing the right way. It's more of like it's editing plus logic. That's what Edgic is. And like you can look at the editing, but you have to use the logic. I feel like he's just in a bad position.
He's in a bad spot. He doesn't have the logic part, and that's what Sue doesn't have either. There's no logic.
Well, she doesn't have the edit part either because
I don't know what the hell people are looking at it.
I'm going Andy, man. Andy's my front runner.
Hey, I'll tell you what. Last night at the event, we and this is how I ended at the Bryson One event. We asked people. Saul was an answer, which Gabler called him Saul the Wrecking Ball. That's what he's calling him now. So that really is going to catch on. I swear it is. Saul, Teeny, Andy, and Genevieve. Those were the picks that people were coming up with. I don't see Genevieve though. I feel like Genevieve is playing a very good game, but I just feel like that 0 is bad. That 0 is bad.
She's playing the best game.
Yeah, she is playing the best game.
What 0?
The 0 confessional, man. It's going to be a killer. She's going to go home. She's not going to make the final 3 with a 0 on her record. I mean, the editors have made it obvious to us at this point. If you don't get a confessional episode, this is how crazy this is. Okay. This season, only 4 players on the entire season have had an episode without a confessional. That is insane. You're talking back during like the early 40s. I know these were before the 90-minute episodes, but you're literally talking,
Phil.
But even in the other seasons, I'd have to look at the numbers, but you're talking almost half the cast getting a 0. It's not happening anymore. It's not happening.
90 minutes.
But even in 45 and 46, I'm pretty sure the numbers were much higher. I just don't have it in front of me right now.
All right.
I'm just saying.
Crunch
It's something to think about.
Crunch those numbers.
Here, I'll look at 46 right now. Okay, 46. Tim, Soda, Tevin, Venus, Maria, Liz. So 6 people from that season.
Yes, but 2 of those people were on the Green Tribe that only lost 1 challenge. And here
Caroline was on the Blue Tribe, and she's got a perfect score right now. And Genevieve, who lost 2 in the pre-merge, doesn't have a perfect score right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. And you can't tell me that Genevieve's not playing a better game at this point.
No, I'm
not saying you. That was the proverbial you.
Okay. Don't call me proverbial.
I'm just saying.
Don't say that to me.
St. Cliffo says I lean too hard in the 0 vote confessional. I don't think it's a disqualifier. Well, it has been for everybody since Erica. So I'm gonna ride it.
I mean, yeah, if it's 6 seasons straight, and this is for everybody in the final 3, or just the winner?
Just the winner. Heidi had some episodes without them. But I think, so since they went to 90-minute episodes, every single person who's made a final 3 has gotten a confessional in every episode. But then again, you had Jake, Austin, D. You were going to give them confessionals no matter what. It's really Ben who got the confessionals last season when they were not including him in the story. That's the one that's shocking.
Right. Small sample size, but something to keep our eyes on.
If it happens again here, man, that's something that they're doing. We'll have to see what happens. Jordan asks, who are the 4 without? Well, Tiana's gone. That was one of them. And then it's Sue, Kyle, and Genevieve. So that's it. And now we're into the home stretch where really you're probably not going to get many people with 0 confessionals.
Yeah,
so
anyway.
All right, well, that was digging deeper, everybody. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. Blake, Will, thank you guys for doing last night's episode. I really appreciate it. It was a fun time that I got to have. We got to go up there and do a live podcast, which felt good. Sitting between Bryce and Wendell, I felt important, so that was nice.
You are important. You're very important.
But I felt even more important because I got to sit in between them. You know, when Bryce really started being
did people cheer? Did people know who you were?
They did once Wendell told them who I was.
When you came up, and I'm sure they had some Survivor alumni. And then this guy walks on stage.
It was me, Wendell, and Bryce who went up and talked first, and then the other 3 alumni came.
Okay. Because it'd be funny if next to the stage, Phil, and they're like, Philip Shepard, like what? Yeah. And then they're like, wait a second, who is?
Well, I will give my shout out here. So
That's cool that Bryce and Wendell were down to have you up there, and
they're great.
Speak.
I love Bryce and Wendell.
That's a big moment. I imagine you plugged the pod.
Of course. We'll see what happens. I mean, they're going to put this video out, so we'll see what ends up happening. But there were some people there who knew me last night, and I will say I wasn't going to do the Digging Deeper episode, being that I'm in New Orleans. But then I was like, we got Lainey, who's over there, and she said that she's been listening to us for the last 5 years. So really, it was Alexa first, but she likes you a lot, Will.
Good.
And so she said that she listens on all of her long runs. And she just got into long distance running. She's going to run a half marathon. So she's like, sometimes your 2 hours of podcasts aren't enough. So I was like, well, shit, if we only give her 1 hour and it's only last night. Become a patron. I know.
Trust me.
She's in college, dude. Come on. She said she needs the student discount. So, but I did say that to her.
If you want content for long runs, the Patreon will be well worth it. Yeah. There is a lot over there.
I'm shaving years off my vocal cords. But anyway, thank you all so much for listening. Like the video, subscribe to the channel.
I didn't say that last night. I didn't say like and subscribe. It's my bad.
Will.
Everybody do that like you know?
Yeah, you'll get there. I know Alexa used to close out, so she was so used to doing that. Maybe I'll have you be the closer moving forward, but
you don't want me as the closer.
I don't know. Anyway. All right, everybody. I will be back on Monday with Peridium. Don't know what time yet, but it'll be Peridium. So I already have that booked up.
I'm jealous. You get to talk to Peridium? I'm jealous.
Hey, man, Monday night. What's the Monday Night Football game? If it's not important, come join us.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I like how you had to think about that, though. You're like, let's see about that.
Let's see.
All right, everybody. Enjoy your Halloween. We'll see you next time.
Happy Halloween. Sorry for you.